Show. It's time to stop just surviving, and it's time to begin to thrive. It's time to live happier and healthier. Turn stress into strength. Noted author Debbie Mandel will show you how to move beyond personal doubts and fears and into positive perception to turn on your inner light. Here's your host, Debbie Mandel.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my show. Our guest expert is Cynthia Occelli, a blogger, life empowerment coach, and is the author of Resurrecting Venus. Learn how to begin again when you have nothing to lose, or reinforce your inner goddess if you have suppressed her for all these years. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you, Debbie.
Now, what have you resurrected within yourself, my dear?
Oh my, that's a really big question. I've been working at this for about 2 decades, sometimes more successfully than others, and I really reconnected with my essence and all of the things that I had repressed, things like my creativity, my sense of wanting to be compassionate and connected versus competitive, stuff like that.
Oh, that's very interesting. Now, you've picked a goddess. Weren't the goddesses competitive? I got you. This is New York.
You know, I think that with everything you come across, every person, every teacher, every wonderful thing, there are aspects that resonate with you and you love, and then there are some aspects that you may not connect so deeply with. And I just had to highlight what I was really drawn to, and then the things that I was not so drawn to, I just didn't give a lot of attention to.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, why did you choose to call your book Resurrecting Venus? Why not Resurrecting Athena or Resurrecting Hera or Diana?
Well, this title has been with me for about 7 years. It was a very popular blog. I've always resonated with Venus. My ruling astrological planet is Venus. Rome and Italy, that's my favorite place in the entire world. And every time I stand in that energy or even say the name, it moves me. Whereas the others, I just don't respond the same way to, so it felt right.
So would you advise other women to find a role model, let's say, and why not a goddess, especially if we want to unleash creativity or power? A goddess might be a nice role model. Would you advise women to pick their own goddess?
I do. I love it when a woman picks an archetype that resonates with her, because I find it's so sad yet so common with many women that I encounter. There's a preset to be negative toward the self, or to put the self second or even last and not demonstrate a lot of self-love. And I find that when someone stands in an archetype and says, well, you know, what would Venus do? Or in another case, what would Cleopatra do? They treat themselves better. They make better decisions.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think a woman's role is today when she has so many options?
Well, foremost, above and beyond everything else, her primary objective is to get clear of everything that everyone has taught her and told her to do, and discover what she really resonates with in her deepest center. That her deepest truth is the controlling factor in every situation.
Now, that's a nice platitude, really, to say her deepest truth. But how do I, as a woman, separate what I've grown up with, the voices in my head, my culture, my feminine friendships, the media? How do I even know how to recognize my inner voice after all I've lived through?
Yes, I completely understand that question. It's a very big effort, and it's multifaceted. It's questioning and becoming aware of your natural beliefs. So if you have an assumption about a particular thing in the world, asking why do I believe that? Sometimes we believe things that we don't even really agree with, and getting quiet, stepping back, doing things like yoga, meditation, journaling, really getting to the center of what we do. Does what we believe agree with our feelings? Do we believe it's true? And it's repetitive, and it takes a long time, but layer by layer, I call it lifting the veils. Layer by layer, we reveal and get closer and closer to our truth.
All right. So, if I were to begin this kind of excavation, what would I start with? You know, on the simplest level, before I can get deeper to even recognize my inner voice. I might not even know it. How do I start?
I would start with an active program of self-love, because that's really where you're going to blossom and recognize what you're naturally drawn to. I think that in every day that you would move forward saying, am I loving myself today? And that's an action. So am I taking good care of myself, giving myself good food, good rest, good friendship, good environment? As you create a nicer environment around you, you will blossom naturally.
It is so hard for women to love themselves. Why do you think that's so?
I think it's in our upbringing and in our culture. We're on the block, basically. We're up there on display, and everyone has an opinion. As we grow up, we are observed and judged as a matter of course, and then we have a society that we can't drive down the street without message after message reminding us or communicating to us that we're somehow inadequate. But if we do X or Y or buy this or get that, we may approach that adequacy, but then there'll be something else.
So many of these things I feel are about the surface. They're either created by the media in terms of the way we should look, and like you say, the accessories we need to kind of pass muster, and others have been judgments. Why are our mothers so tough on us?
I think that it's certainly most often it's a well-intended mother who is trying to prepare you and create a child who is very successful in the world. And she's passing on the best of what she knows.
I like that. You know, that's very kind. I've had so many interviews with psychotherapists who come on and say, well, the mothers were narcissistic or the mothers were rough. I've always felt my mother did the best she could for me. So if she'd say, are you really going to eat that? Or wear those jeans with your stomach bulging out or that miniskirt, I don't think she meant it to criticize me, but kind of to protect me or get me to be better. But we go to commercial break, and we will return with Cynthia Occelli, author of Resurrecting Venus.
Now you can take Debbie Mandel home with you. Her book, Turn On Your Inner Light, Fitness for Body, Mind, and Soul, will help you decompress with healthy, positive, concrete solutions. Common life challenges are presented so that you can quickly find the help you need. Emotional tips, original meditations, and a fun and easy-to-follow fitness workout for each mindset. This revolutionary new method will help you rewire mind and body to take back your power. Get it on Amazon.
Are you overwhelmed with the burden of taking care of children, parents, or both? Are you taking care of everyone else except yourself? It's time to change your habits and re-energize. Debbie Mandel gives you an innovative and easy-to-follow program for good health and happiness. In her magical new book, Changing Habits, The Caregiver's Total Workout, Debbie Mandel shows you step-by-step how to find the optimal balance between giving and receiving and guides you to exercise and eat right to take care of yourself. What are you waiting for? Read Changing Habits and start training for your life. Life does not need to be a burden. Get Changing Habits, The Caregiver's Total Workout on Amazon.
You're listening to the Turn On Your Inner Light show. I'm your host, Debbie Mandel, and I'm speaking with Cynthia Occelli, author of Resurrecting Venus. Now, Cynthia, I want to ask you a really big question. Why are there wars between women, the mommy versus working outside the home? Why can't we all just get along?
The answer to that question is really a lack of understanding and awareness of how important it is, how when we dishonor a sister, we dishonor the entire sisterhood and hold us back as a group. We don't assign value and love to the other women in our lives. And it's kind of understandable, because if we haven't cultivated a real and deep self-love, it's difficult to give what we don't have. And we don't necessarily even realize that we're tearing other women down with gossip and betrayal and backbiting. We can justify it and rationalize it, and we don't really see what we're doing.
So it's, in a way, smothering our feminine energy. It's self-destructive, is what you're saying. It's self-sabotage.
It is, because united as a sisterhood, we're so extraordinarily powerful, and we have the ability to restore that sense of enoughness among ourselves, because the worst part about the whole media, I need to look a certain way in order to be good enough thing, is that women are the ones who perpetrate it. It's aimed at us, we buy it, and then we apply that judgment when we see other women.
As opposed to what's inside the woman. And I think our society is really youth-oriented anyway. So there are so many levels to that. And I feel sorry for men, because I notice men who are getting older, they tell me they feel invisible, like no one sees them anymore either. And while I'm on the subject of men, you wrote this interesting section on that there are ways that women sometimes emotionally mistreat men. I don't want everybody to think this show is just about, women, rah, 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 in the sisterhood. But how, and that men can ruin our lives, or men can mistreat us or abuse us. But how do we mistreat them? That was interesting.
I had such an amazing experience writing this book and talking to men all around the Western world, and they would privately say, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to act because nothing is okay. We're terrified of doing the wrong thing. And on top of it, we are emasculated by many women who are being strong, and I don't blame the women, because I don't believe that in fact, I know many of them aren't intentionally doing it, because when I've worked with women and pointed it out, they've said, oh my goodness, I don't want that. But we boss men around, we don't let them make decisions, we say, if you want to get the job done, get a woman to do it. We've kind of put them in a corner, and they're miserable there.
Yes, they are. And I've seen many men, or I've gone out with friends, and they've said, well, whatever she says goes. Or she's the boss, or she will decide. And some of them don't even order for themselves in a restaurant. Whatever she says, I'm having. And if they say something, maybe witty or inappropriate, the wife will give them a look and they freeze up.
I think we've all seen that, and it's really unfortunate, because it's not just the husband that's suffering or the man in the relationship. The woman suffers as well, because she's deprived of this man who can take a leadership role and lighten her load.
So what's the solution? Where do we begin with that?
I think that the modern woman absolutely has to be capable of providing for herself. She has to have the education and the wherewithal to be self-reliant. Yet, when she enters a relationship, if she's got a feminine essence, which many, many women do, she's got to check that masculine essence at the threshold of the relationship and allow her man to really embody his masculine energy, and she can be in the feminine, and it is blissful.
But some men have a lot of feminine energy too. It's that yin-yang of things. Some men are emotive, and they break out of that. And let's say I have a masculine energy, and that's who I am. So maybe in being with a feminine man, it's okay.
Perfect, yes. If the polarities are there, you're going to do great, and it's going to be rewarding and wonderful for both of you. There's no, it should be this way. It's just that the majority of time, the majority of women that I've encountered, they really have that sense of feminine essence, and they want that hero of a man. And I have found just countless men who want to answer the call and be the hero. Yet if it's reversed, that's perfect too.
But you know what? The problem, I see it now, is when everyone gets older, men have trouble being the hero. And then they crash off their pedestal the way, some of the Greek heroes did in the tragedies. So what do we do with that aging hero?
Well, I believe that those are our skills as women, that one of our skills is to be kind and compassionate and understanding. We can see that and recognize it and take it into consideration and know that if he were able, he would be out there, fighting the wars. And now he's a retired hero. Let's honor and value that.
Mm-hmm. Or celebrate the wisdom, the way we would do in an older woman, that wise old crone, that sorceress. Now, you wrote in the book about the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship, or how the first wife can get along with the second wife if there's a divorce and there are children. I found it so idealized. When I look at the reality, Cynthia, there's like, wow, how do we get these women to really, make peace or truce?
They have to get their values in order. They have to understand that our primary role once we engage in unions and make children is to give those children the best environments and also to give ourselves the most peace. And if we can see it that way, we can show up in better relation and tolerate more, even though I know that it's challenging and difficult. I've been in both of those situations more than once, yes. And I understand the challenge, but the benefit so outweighs the difficulty and detriment that it is absolutely worthwhile. And I think that that's a stretch, and there are so many people, the majority of people are not doing this, but how will it ever happen if we don't put it out there and give someone the opportunity to choose it and live it?
A great way to go to commercial break, and we will return with Cynthia Occelli, author of Resurrecting Venus.
Dear listeners, I'm excited to tell you about my new book, Addicted to Stress. This is the message you need to hear. Are you addicted to stress? Do you do it all while everyone depends on you? Where's all this pressure coming from? It is coming from inside you. This is why my publisher, John Wiley, asked me to write Addicted to Stress, a woman's 7-step program to reclaim joy and spontaneity in life. This fun-to-read book teaches proven strategies to reclaim your life, silence your inner critic, build a healthy body, and reframe your thoughts to change your life for the better. Dare to be happy without the guilt. Addicted to Stress is easy to get. It's available at Barnes & Noble and other fine bookstores everywhere. You can also buy it at Amazon and other online retailers.
We're back with Cynthia Occelli in Resurrecting Venus. Cynthia, I've saved the best for last. Many an interviewer would begin with your life story. I was fascinated by it, but I kind of wanted to build up from where you are now to where you came from. So could you give us your personal resurrection from being a single mother?
Oh, absolutely. I grew up in some very tumultuous circumstances, and as a result, I dropped out of school in 9th grade and hung around with the wrong crowd for several years and found myself at 19 living in a garage on welfare and the mother to the most beautiful little boy. And I had such a value for him that I wish I had had for myself before he was born. But his value inspired me to really reach for a better life for both of us. And over the course of 5 years, we transformed everything in our lives. I got into law school, never finishing high school.
How'd you do that?
Perseverance. It was one school had a probationary program for people who didn't finish their undergraduate degree, and I was able to convince them to give me a chance just for one summer. And if I could sustain it, they would put me on probationary admission throughout the first year. And I graduated in the top 3% of my class.
So you were able, without really 3 years of high school, right, because you dropped out, to have the reading skills and the writing skills, like self-taught, innate? How did that work?
I was a gifted child. As I said, my childhood was very challenging. I was a complete outcast, and the only place that I received any sense of good feeling outside of my mother was academically. So I was a really good student.
Yet you dropped out.
Yes, because then, at 14, as your hormones kick in, and your academics aren't what sustains you anymore. You want to be accepted, you want to belong, and I was biracial in a community of people who I was either too dark for or too light for, and I couldn't take the misery.
I see. So that kind of confusion. So what you're really telling me, if I understand you correctly, is the creative process of giving birth, because that's the most creative thing we do. I think envied by men, marveled by men, is that we bring forth life. It's magical, isn't it?
Isn't it? How did we not recognize this?
And so your son, the male energy, really resurrected you, because you are adamantly an advocate for motherhood and giving it all to your children. I mean, I really admired that. I mean, the kind of honor that you bring to parenting.
I think it's just an amazing gift, and it's a gift as much to ourselves. And for me personally, it was the transformational moment. Thank goodness. I counsel and mentor teens, and of course, young pregnancy is never the solution. But in my specific circumstance, it transformed my life.
So you were really special in the sense that you could skip a few steps and really get motivated when you matured a little bit, and being a mother did, so that in essence, if I were to look at that objectively, it would be really your creativity. And this is culminated with the birth, but it can be symbolic, the way Venus is symbolic. It's for a woman to tap into her creativity.
Yes, and also her to believe in herself. I was terrified. I would love to have had more confidence than I did, but I had a streak in me that would fantasize and believe. I would fantasize to escape the misery. I would picture this life, and it's the life I'm living now. So,
in other words, think it and then do it. Conceive, believe, achieve. And in your case, conceive was really I can't help it. Don't make me start punning. But that's the point that you're making, that women have a very rich imagination, and we tend to censor it.
Well, we don't assign value. This is not what is given any value in our society, that we have this magical, creative ability that's not linear, that's expansive and can take paths that we can't even see or predict.
Oh, I like that. It's a circular kind of
Yeah.
thing. Well, our time together has flown. Miss Cynthia Occelli, I love the rhythm of your name. Do you have a website we could visit?
I do. I have resurrectingvenus.com.
Oh, that's simple enough. Well, thank you for being an inspiration and reminding me of my feminine energy when I get a little too masculine.
Oh, my pleasure, Debbie. Thank you for having me.
Be well. Affirmation of the week. If you seek to fulfill your desires, make sure it's from a source that can actually fulfill them. And now for the latest medical trends. Challenging the old notion that the function of sleep is to rest the brain, researchers show that not getting enough sleep can harm fat cells, reducing by 30% their ability to respond to insulin, a hormone that regulates energy. With a little exercise and dieting, overweight people with type 2 diabetes can still train their fat cells to produce a hormone believed to spur HDL cholesterol production. That's the good cholesterol, according to the Journal of Lipid Research. And from Ohio State University, I found this very interesting. Before the financial crash of 2008, who do you think was most likely to fall into debt? It was highly educated Americans who were piling on unmanageable levels of debt, a new study suggests. Maybe it was arrogance, maybe, who knows, too much empowerment, but now everyone has fallen into line. Bad news articles in the media increase women's sensitivity to stressful situations, but do not have a similar effect on men, according to a study from the University of Montreal. And that's very interesting because women experience stress more intensely than men, so it's any kind of stress, and we have to be careful what we watch or listen to. Graphic or emotional television anti-smoking ads get more smokers to try to quit than the less intense ads, according to a new study in the American Journal of Preventative Medicine. Well, we're not sure that the quitting lasts, but it's worth a try. Dog owners and their pets may exchange harmful mouth bacteria that can cause gum disease and tooth decay in both humans and canines. So don't kiss your pets, as tempting as it might be. Petting your pet is good for the both of you. And individuals with the highest scores of adherence to the Mediterranean diet also have the fastest walking speeds. And the faster your pace, the healthier you are, predictor for longevity, and lowers the risk of metabolic syndrome. Walk fast. Well, we come to the close of another show. I have an educational website on stress management and health, totally free. TurnOnYourInnerLight.com. All the radio shows with the guest experts are archived for your listening pleasure on TurnOnYourInnerLight.com. Just click on the link and you'll go right into YouTube and hear the latest. Subscribe to my free newsletter at TurnOnYourInnerLight.com. You will get a fresh new article on stress management, the latest radio shows with their links emailed directly to you.